I have made a decision about the short-term future of content on this channel, and it might be kind of an awkward subject to even bring up on a Pokemon channel, especially one that is way too small to make any money and is just my hobby where I upload videos because I enjoy it, even though I've perhaps put a worrying amount of time into it lately. But I think we're getting to the point where it's important that people push through the awkwardness in a lot of areas, and we don't let these things go because some subjects are in the world right now are very important and they don't go away or cease to be important when we dive into our hobbies and engage in some escapism here and there. Um, Escapism can be healthy, but I think it's important to keep some things in perspective. So, yesterday, Donald Trump announced that the United States is issuing broad, sweeping tariffs on imports from my country of Canada. Canada has already retaliated with its own tariffs, and so we have a trade war going on. Of course, I say Trump announced yesterday. He actually had been talking for a long time about imposing those tariffs. There had been a bunch of conflicting leaks about exactly when he would do it, but we pretty well knew that it was coming. And of course, this comes after weeks of him, quote unquote, joking, sure, about annexing my country, and generally trolling us to, I guess, fire up his base by picking on the weaker ally next door. He has cited some things that he says are policy reasons for this, worries about migration and drug trafficking. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, fentanyl, for example, is a serious problem in Canada as well. It's a problem that we share with the United States, and that you'd think we could cooperate on recognizing that we're in this together to an extent. Migration, look, it's complicated. There's a lot of that. I'm not going to go deep into that on a Pokemon channel, but there's a lot of international law engaged, human rights. Things get messy, and yeah, it is hard to figure those out. But again, best done together as partners. But this is all just a distraction anyway, because I mean, Trump has been a major political figure for about a decade now. I've been watching him plenty long enough to understand that the only thing he cares about is his own ego. And so what he's doing is he is trying to flex that he's a big, tough, strongman leader by picking on what he sees as a soft target nearby. And of course, the reason that Canada is in some ways a soft target is in significant part because we have spent so many decades being so friendly to the United States, tightly integrating our economy with theirs, such that picking a trade war for no reason does hurt, and integrating our governments in all kinds of other ways. We've been an extremely close ally, in some ways, arguably their closest. And so Trump has decided that the way that he's going to, posture and show how tough he is basically to go up to his best friend and punch them in the face. There are a lot of words for a person like that, but I'm trying to keep it fairly clean in this video. This is a big deal in Canada. A lot of people are already struggling in this country, just as in the United States. People have been struggling with inflation, with the rising cost of living, all the same beats, pretty much. And some issues are, by some metrics, worse here, at least in parts of the country, comparatively. So people are going through hard times. And our most important trading partner picking a fight with us just because they feel like it for funsies is going to hurt a lot of people. It's going to make a lot of people who are already struggling struggle yet more. And it's also, there's a real psychological impact to this and to the quote unquote jokes about annexing us and everything. I have people close to me who are very worried about just how far this is going to go and just what kind of conflict we're going to get into with a country that was so close to us for so long. And, I've talked a lot here about one guy, Donald Trump, but the fascist president doesn't become the fascist president by himself. Trump is many things, but he has never been subtle about who he is. He From the moment he went down the escalator in 2015, he was openly pushing for a more stupid, cruel, egoistic, careless, thoughtless government that would shape a world along those lines as well. And of course, he won the 2016 election. He did not win the popular vote, but it still takes tens of millions of votes to win the Electoral College. For 4 years of his first term, he showed the entire world loud and clear just how stupid, incompetent, and cruel American leadership could be. He lost the 2020 election and then tried to steal it and effectively end democracy in what paints itself as the leading hub of democracy for much of the world. And 4 years later, tens of millions of American voters, this time a plurality, stepped up and said, yes, that's what we want. That's the country that we want to be. And millions more stood back and did nothing to say differently. So, look, somewhere in this video, I should probably say that I feel for a lot of Americans who are struggling right now, that I do see them, that they're not forgotten. There are a lot of Americans with marginalized identities that are going to be targeted by the second Trump administration that are struggling to get by. There are a lot of Americans who did not support this and did what they thought they could to stop it and were overcome by a larger movement. I think it is still correct to acknowledge all of that, but to be honest, I am having a hard time with it right now because at some point, and I think for me, that point is electing him a second time. You know, people always say elections have consequences, and internationally, at some point, the message comes across to the rest of us that this really is what your country is and what it wants to be. And I do have hope that Americans can pull themselves out of this, and I do feel for the Americans who are struggling with it right now, and I do wish them the best. I guess I still can't say those things, but right now, I think my view of that country is changed from what it once was for the long term. And I'm going to have to grapple with that because it's a country that I like to visit. Again, it's a country that is the most important ally to my country, has been for a long time, signaling that maybe it doesn't want to be anymore. I don't know what that's going to mean for the future. And again, all of this is coming from outside of the United States. I mean, there's a reason well, there are a lot of reasons I've never spoken up about something like this before. First of all, this is a Pokemon YouTube channel, but I also am not sure how appropriate it is for me to chirp about political developments in another country. In the end, the United States is a sovereign entity, and it is up to its people who they want to be. But once they started to come from my country, well, that's where it becomes my business, I guess. And I do want to acknowledge a little bit more. I mean, look, I grew up with a lot of privilege in my life. I'm white, straight, a man. There are other things that I won't get too into my personal life here, but I did have some struggles growing up. There were moments where I relied very much on the kindness and understanding of others, and I could have turned out differently from the way I am today if not for those qualities in the people around me. And I grew up believing very strongly not only that it's good to build a kinder, more tolerant world where we're able to develop mutual understanding and build the best mutually supportive environment for all of us that we can. I firmly believe that that is the best way to improve society over the long term. But I also grew up believing that we were doing that and I was going to see progress toward that goal over the rest of my life. And so it hurts to learn that that's out now. But again, I would probably not comment here on the United States if not for the United States punching my country in the face because their president that a plurality of them chose, that a plurality of that country says they want to represent them. The leader of the fascist movement that is aggressively pulling back efforts to be more inclusive and accepting of people's differences, whose most famous backer and shadow president, Puppet Master, did a Nazi salute twice at his inauguration. That guy decided to punch my country in the face because he wants to feel like a big special boy. So, I mean, anything that I say about a Pokemon channel coming off of this is going to feel like small potatoes. It is very small potatoes, but I think it is the time for people to speak up and do what they can, however small. And so the decision that I've come to for this YouTube channel is that for the rest of the current competitive season, up to and including Worlds, which I believe will be in Anaheim in August, this channel will not acknowledge in-person Pokemon events held in the United States of America. There will be no coverage here of US regionals. There will be no coverage of the North American International Championship in New Orleans, which, by the way, I was hoping I would be able to go to again after I had a really great time there last year, but now I'm pretty sure I don't want to go anymore. And I guess there won't be any coverage of Worlds on this channel because that is held in the United States. And then when next season arrives, we'll see how I feel. And I really do hope that things will be different in some way and I'll feel differently. But it's hard to believe right now that that's going to be the case. Like I said, a very small thing, but we're at the point where I feel like I have to say something. And that's what it is. No coverage of US events on this channel for at least the rest of the competitive season, except one more wrinkle. There are 2 videos already made but not yet published covering teams from the San Antonio Regional Championship. So I've basically fallen into a schedule at this point where on Tuesdays I ladder with teams that did well at recent tournaments and either won the tournament or caught my interest for some other reason. And I use those tournament-proven teams on the ladder and see if I can figure them out and what kind of content I can make with them. Those videos go up on Tuesdays, and I have 2 already scheduled for this coming Tuesday and the one after that using teams from San Antonio. And obviously, I don't want to leave videos up that contradict this decision that I've made here, but at the same time, I've already made those videos, and I like them. I really enjoyed the teams, and I don't want to scrap them. So what I'm going to do is release those 2 videos today. The first one will go up 2 hours after this video, and then the second one 2 hours after that. And then that's it. Those are the last US tournament videos for the season. And I probably will just skip those 2 Tuesdays and not replace them with anything. But we'll see. Maybe something will catch my eye. Otherwise, official major tournament content. I might do like one more Birmingham video, and then we'll be back for EUIC. But yeah, it's a small thing, but I think if a lot of us do what small things we can, maybe it can add up to something. And even if that's silly, and even if you think that any of my reasoning in this video doesn't really add up, I mean, this is a very small channel. I'm not expecting to get very many comments at all, but if you think that I'm doing something pointless or not worthwhile, that's fine. I've considered that myself. I think it's a fair view to have, but in the end, this is my hobby YouTube channel where I make videos because I enjoy it, and I don't enjoy thinking about the United States right now. It's a very sad thing to think about, and I don't think videos that make me sad are going to be good content. So that's it. That's the update, and that's why. And if you're an American watching this, I mean, if you're watching me, you're probably not a hardcore MAGA person or something like that, but look, I don't want to go too far here. I know that you're a deeply divided country, and I know that a lot of you are decent people. I have great American friends. I hope you find a way out of this nightmare, but I'm telling you, I'm really struggling right now with what I think deep down about your country, and on multiple levels, I'm not saying I blame you personally, but your country has done this to itself. So, here we are.